All right, let's talk about how to optimize jumper media and some of the common mistakes that people make, which I've seen even in our own account and even from people who maybe have seen our training or have claimed to see the training. When you log in, you might not see any accounts here. And that's probably because the ones we set up came in on a free trial because everyone gets a free 1 week trial. So if I look at these ones that got the 1 week trial, they're going to show up here. And well, they should show up here. Or sorry, not trials only. Include they cancel. So after a week, they cancel. You set them up with a trial, you get a new client, set them up, they cancel a week later. But you can actually get a lot of data, and it typically takes 5 days, 6 days to see results in the map results, which is what we're looking for. Not to the website, not ranking and search, but literally just in the map grid results. So if we look at one of them, so this one, Cardinal Treatment Center, for each keyword that we set up, we will probably rank better in the maps if we already are ranking somewhat there. And it's important to choose the right keyword because we're already ranking 100%, then it doesn't do us any good. And if we don't have any rankings, then what's the point? Although sometimes you can see in this situation, substance abuse treatment, this says 40% lift on this keyword. So for this keyword, you have the snapshot of December 10th, which we can see there is 100% coverage. So it's showing up there, but the top three are what matter in the maps, both desktop and mobile. So we'll almost always see a number one ranking right over where the location is if people are searching from location. And then when we see the snapshot a week later, 40% is in the top three. That's great. We'd love to see green dots everywhere. Now, this tool and Google Business Profile and all the other tools don't show the search volume. So you can rank number one or have all green dots across, but if it's doesn't have any volume, then what's the point? So choosing the right keywords here is actually very important to be able to see a nice performance percent improvement. But this isn't a traffic improvement. This is a percent coverage improvement. So here, Rehabilitation Center, Ohio, I would say this is probably worth doing because here 1% top three to 64%. And you see some of this SEO data, keyword difficulty, you can see out of Ahrefs and what the cost per click is. There's obviously the amount you pay is dependent upon how high you want to rank and your quality score, but you can see, $8 a click on average, but to be at the top is $44. That could be quite valuable, just getting one or two more. So if Rehabilitation Center Ohio is working, we probably want to do Rehabilitation Center because each of these keywords is different in jumper media because these are the actual terms that the, let's call it behavioral traffic is coming in on. So if they come in on Rehab Center Chillicothe, where we didn't have much rankings, this is what we typically see. We're not ranking on this 1% coverage, or sorry, 1% in the top three up to 7%. That didn't do anything. So we would probably not keep that there and turn that one off, right? I wish the system would automatically do that, but they don't. You have to come in and look. That's why you still need a human involved. Maybe the AI can do it once we program with rules or not. This is a moderate improvement, maybe barely worth taking. I don't really look at this coverage percent here because often you'll see, position 7 to 10 or whatnot, and we really want top three. So positions 4 to 10, moving into the top three, that's what we really like to see. So here, outpatient rehab, Chillicothe, that's way too specific. We should know that there's not many people searching on that. If you just really, really want to rank on this, remember that, it has to be worthwhile search volume, then do that. But that's why the performance shows 1% because there's no volume and, whoever's choosing these keywords doesn't understand what a high volume versus low volume term is. It sounds super obvious, but you would obviously think like, pizza is a very general term versus pepperoni pizza with mozzarella cheese and large extra, like the more specific, I do need to explain that the more specific the query, the less search you have on it, right? But you can see even, you can't make an assumption like that because people will put in medication assisted treatment center, Chillicothe, Ohio. Yeah, we could rank number one on that, but it's not worthwhile, right? So I mean, this is stuff like it makes me wonder, like, what level of search, like what is search, do I need to explain? I don't want people making mistakes, but I also don't want to insult their intelligence by explaining things that are kind of obvious. So we want to choose keywords that are worthwhile. I don't know how else I should say that, but choose keywords that you don't have to put the geo term in it. If it's super competitive, put in the geo term because maybe if we don't rank at all, we need to put in the geo term just to start with something that has some level of ranking and then move to the more competitive term. But the main thing we know here is choose keywords that we already have a little bit of coverage on, so that way we can move up in those positions. Now, notice on each of these terms, some of them, addiction treatment center, chili cough, we didn't have anything here to begin with, and so it didn't really move. It doesn't guarantee that we're going to move here, but if we see this one here, see this 41%, that's good. Here 1% to 41, that's great. And addiction treatment center is a good term. It's a general term. It's not some super, super specific term, right? I'm not saying don't choose drug rehab or alcohol center or whatever it is, but if you're just too specific, medication assisted treatment center, chili cough, like no one is searching. I don't need to explain like why no one's searching that. Okay. That's just, you can even see here, there's no data on this, right? And remember, this is all estimated SEO data. So even this Rehab Center Ohio, that shows no data, but I know for sure there's data on Rehab Center or substance abuse. I mean, here we have substance abuse treatment, but maybe we just try substance abuse and then try another one as treatment. So I think we're too specific here. And I understand generally in SEO you want to be specific, but if we don't have a location service page around that, if we're not seeing, here's the main thing. If we don't see data in our existing GBP and SEO data showing existing search volume on these keywords, it's probably not worth putting here. The whole idea of MAA, the whole idea of digital marketing, which we can't say often enough, is that we want to get more out of the thing that's already working well. So if there's nothing coming in on outpatient rehab Chillicothe, Ohio, you're just multiplying zero by a bigger number. Like that doesn't. Um, we should just understand that, right? Okay. Now let's assess what kind of impact this is. So the fact that we see like this one, 63% impact, performance improvement, that's awesome, right? Went from 1% to 64, but remember, we don't know the volume. So if we look at our Google Business Profile and we see here on the performance, we see how many people have visited our GBP. And Google shows 4 categories of where they came in from. And this is not super accurate, but this is the key for us to understand. What I'm doing in these videos is showing, trying to get you to a fundamental understanding of search, even though everyone thinks they know, right? You can see based on whoever set these up, they don't know. So they can come in on Google search. You can see here, search on desktop and mobile, and they can come in on maps when they actually go to Google Maps or use the Google Maps app. Now, if they're searching on mobile, they have higher intent because they're more likely to do maps and directions. They're more likely to need an emergency plumber. They're more likely, I mean, that's what mobile is. And there's generally more mobile traffic than desktop. Desktop could be more people who are planning, who are doing research, they're sitting at their computer, they're not as likely in the buy stage. Now, here's the main point of this video. Once we just went past the basics, covered the basics of what is search. To see whether there's an improvement from Jumper Media, we should see an improvement in the maps results, especially maps in mobile, because that's where you have the intent. And this is the cleanest thing to seeing whether the question is, if we increase in our maps grids from whatever it is to green dots everywhere, where does that show and how do we determine the ROI on that? Well, if we come in here and we see, I guess we're in a different GBP right now, but here, okay, let's go back to, let's see which one. Let's go to American Classic Painters, okay? Painting company, and we can see This is not bad. Cabinet painter, painter Kirkland, painter near me, painter. So if we're able to win on painter, that means we can go after other terms that are related to painting. We can go after broad terms. Went from 12% to 59% in this area around, I think, Kirkland, Washington, where Costco's based or headquartered, that kind of thing. Okay. So this is showing an improvement, painter. Okay. So now if we look at the Google business profile, yeah, here in American Classic Painters, you come to the GBP, you have to be logged into the right account, because then when you are in that GBP, and Google changed the URL structure, so you have to be logged in here, and then it's google.com search, and then here it is. But if you own that GBP and you're doing the search on it, it'll show here. So we click on performance, and here in the overview, if you have a period of multiple months, it's going to show 1 dot per month. That's not really helpful. It doesn't show the day by day, which drives me nuts. Now look at this one. With American Classic Painters, November 29th is when we set it up. So that's the initial performance snapshot. So then December 5th is when the next snapshot was taken. So remember, it takes 4 or 5 days to start to show an improvement, definitely within the first week. So we're looking for an improvement in between these time periods. It just happened to be at the end of the month, so which is fine. So that's actually better for us. So let's take a look. So if we look at, remember, this is when we show multiple months, it doesn't give us the granular data. So if we show November only, now we see this data and we see we're bouncing around. It looks like it's about averaging about 5 per day. I guess over 30 days, maybe it's 3. So it's 3.5 per day, actually, 101 over 30 days. You can see it's spiky. This is what you'll normally see. Now, if we move to December, there could be seasonality. So remember, Christmas behaves different than the summer and whatnot, but you can generally see now at the beginning of December, we see a bit of a kind of an improvement here. It moves up. And then we have, Christmas sorts of stuff here. So it looks like there's kind of an improvement, just barely, even though in the first few days here, we didn't really see that. It's hard to tell. This is directional. There's no exact way to determine the impact of map rankings. But here's another thing to look at. The thing I look at the most is what's the map component. So here, map on mobile and desktop, 14 and 13 is 27. If I move back to November, it is a little lower and it's 16 and 2. So that's directionally, or no, sorry. Oh, this is huge. Google Maps, sorry. This is even better. Maps, Google Maps, mobile and desktop, 66. Wow, that's the majority of it. That's 2/3 of it. Maybe it all occurred at the end. Oh, maybe it's the end of November. It's hard to say. This is the trouble, is that it's at the end of November, plus it's the beginning. We don't really know. We don't know where this came from. So I guess we can't declare victory here. Let's see. What did the search? Maybe we'll look at. This is why you got to look at the data right away, because we can't look at, the first, we don't get the ability to choose time periods here. It's not like Google Analytics where you can choose an exact time period. So you have to come in and run the report. I know I asked to run the report. We didn't run the report. That's why I'm doing this analysis now. So I guess it doesn't show the queries here. But I think this directionally shows maybe we had a little bit more. Actually, the maps and directions, I'm gonna be clear. So looks like there's a little bit more here. And November, not quite as much. So we did have a bit of a bump, but it's not completely clear. Just know that map rankings showing up in the map grid results doesn't mean the website gets more traffic. Because it's a separate competition, right? It's your articles and whatever on the website are what drive people when they're searching for, how much does it cost to paint repaint my cabinets or something. Maps are different. So just because your website's strong doesn't mean your maps are stronger, and just because the map results are stronger, where people are actually looking for maps and directions and overviews or whatever they're looking for, doesn't mean anything necessarily. So you don't have to prove that you had the clicks and the calls and all that, but obviously we want to look at rankings and translate that into behavior. Let's look at a couple of the other ones. Let's look at some of these pure green ones, the smoothie franchise. So some of them perform way better than these other ones. And let's look at why that is. So in the Boca Raton location, 493%, that's pretty awesome. Let's take a look at that. And let's look at some of the ones that don't perform as well. So these, okay, yeah, I made a video about this earlier, but we need to keep making these videos because people don't understand. So we rank on pure green already. It's the name of the it's the name of the business. So we are already ranking 100%, obviously on the name. Now, if the name is something like, best plumbing, then okay, that's still a generic term. But if your name is very specific, it's a brand term, then you don't want to put that in here because it's for the same reason you're already ranking on it. You're not going to, you want to multiply something that's already, that, there's room for improvement. So we were already at 100%. So this did us no good. I know I've made 3 videos about this point, but we got to keep making videos on this point because people, in the world of digital marketing, people make the same mistakes over and over and over again. So you really have to focus on the fundamentals and not get fancy. I'm guilty of trying to go fancy instead of just hammering the fundamentals. So here, superfood smoothies near me, this is great. I mean, we already had coverage, 100%, but the only green was over the store. And then this went to 98% in the top 3, green everywhere. This is great. I might even try just superfood smoothies because we already had 100% coverage on the near me. I don't think you need to put near me unless it's competitive and we're just not ranking. And this made no sense at all. Like we're already ranking #1 on pure green. So why do we need to go? If we're ranking #1 on pure green, we don't need to put in pure green near me. We don't need to put in pure green juice bar, whatever it is. Like we don't need to get super, super, super specific. So brand name plus what they do, like don't even do the brand name. So why would you do brand name plus? And then I came in and tried to fix a few of these, but there are just so many. I need to make a training video. Juice Shop, okay. Juice Shop Boca Raton went from 35 to 54. You can do your keyword research and see, like, yeah, there's people that are searching for Juice Shop, Juice Cleanse, cold pressed juices. This is a decent one, 53%. So we already had coverage. So I would even try cold press juice or cold pressed juices. I don't think we even need the near me. Why? Because we already had 100% coverage. So, for the reasons that we explained, acai bowls and smoothies, that's awesome. Wow, went from 1% to 79. That probably means we could have acai bowls separately and smoothies separately. Smoothies is a competitive term, but because we can see we're already ranking on this, and it's doing well, we can do these other ones near me. So, or it's not near me. We can just do acai bowls by itself and do smoothies by itself. Now, trying to rank on acai bowl nationwide in regular Google search, that's ridiculously difficult, but we're just ranking here in the map results where people are searching from these particular spots. There's not, I mean, I guess in Boca Raton, there's a whole bunch of them, but it's, we're going to win on these because the whole point of this jumper media thing is behavioral traffic, right? Keyword difficulty 6. I mean, they're trying to help us. I guess they're trying to show us the search volume here. Of course, it's seasonal. I mean, this is estimated data. Use your common sense more than like blindly following these rules. This is why we still need human beings, at least now, for a lot of these. So the tool's great, but if you don't choose the right keyword, if you don't know how to optimize to turn things on and off, you don't know how to look at the data here, then it really kind of doesn't matter. Okay. Let's look at another one, Anthony's Lawn Care. This is a good one. So when we set this one up, you can see these are all canceled because it was set up on the initial free trial for a week. And we haven't looked at the data. Well, I've looked at the data, but our team hasn't looked at the data yet. Let's take a look here. So tree service, stump grinding. Well, think about all the other stuff, lawn mowing, lawn care, landscaping. Probably, these are all good terms. You can see they show some search volume. Obviously, there's not 400,000 people searching on this term in this area here. Keyword difficulty, low, still, it's green. This is odd because you would think landscaping. Well, I guess Anthony's already dominating here. Oh, okay, this actually is important. All right, look, just because it went from 81 to 98, it only looks like a 17% improvement. This is actually a bigger difference than you would imagine. A, it's on a broad term like landscaping, so we know that's got volume and it's competitive. And then B, we were ranking only where the office was. And though technically these are top three, moving from 3 to 2 or moving from 2 to 1 is huge. It's a huge, huge improvement. So this here, number ones everywhere. I keep this, even though it says performance is 17, this is huge. Important term, $5 to $10 a click. I don't think it's 12 cents a click, right? And it's, moving moving from two or 3 to 1 it's like 5 times the traffic. So let's look at tree service. 91% improvement. Okay, so we were only 1% of the time showing up in the top three over the office, which is normal. And then these other ones are way outside, like barely cracking the top 10. Okay. So technically it's 100% coverage because it's in the top 10, but I'd almost consider the nines and these orange ones not valid. But look at this, top three. This is not bad because it's number one. Number one is just where number one gets 3 times as much traffic as number two. You guys know that. Like, who's the first person who went to the moon? No one knows the second person who went to the moon. People click on number one, especially in America. So let's look at the Google Business Profile data. And look at the date that we set this up, November 29th, and then the next snapshot, December 5th. So you figure it should have hit around December 3rd or 4th. Sometimes it hits in a few days. So let's look at the data. Okay. So we know, looking at November data, that we have this, and all of a sudden it jumps up. I think that's probably because of us. And this plus 19%, that's year over year. That doesn't concern us. Now look at how much is in Maps. Maps is 5% and 3%, so that's 8. And mobile, which is the more important one, is the 5, so that's 8. And then we have to shift to December, and we can see 8 plus 4 is 12, so it's even higher. Now, it does help us in the regular search results. Why? Because when people do searches, the map results are included. So especially in mobile search results. So if this went up too, this is the Google Maps thing is the cleanest part, but it also bleeds over into regular search, right? So let's see. Even though December has seasonality because it gets colder, so especially in northern environments, here we're looking at 15, the average is maybe 15 per day here, and then it sort of peters out, but then this is holiday kind of stuff. If we look at November, we see it's probably about half that. So is it a huge bump? I mean, here we see this bump. You can't just interpret one spike as a win. It's easy to see what you want in the data. But this is a $5 million a year business, and merely doing something that costs us a few $100s to drive us a few extra. I mean, if this can move the needle on a $5 million a year business for a few $100s a month, this is worth it. And we might even move from the smaller package to the bigger package. And you can see the search term breakdown, landscape. So if we see the terms that we put in here, snow removal, landscaping, this is a brand term. So for all the reasons I mentioned before, we're not trying to rank better on brand terms here because this is incentivized traffic. Then after the trial, and I think I turned off some of these keywords before because they weren't worth anything, and I explained why. Then, this looks good. I would choose some other keywords. This is probably worth reactivating. So here it says it's inactive. I would come in, and so when you go to the ones that were on a trial and got canceled, then this charges our account. And on the basic plan, that's like 300 a month. And on the bigger plan, I think it's like a 3-mile radius is the basic plan, and a 5-mile radius is the bigger plan. It's like 600 a month. So this charges our card. Okay. So anytime you hit reactivate, that charges our card. So if we go to Pure Green and hit reactivate, that's charging us $300 a month for each of these folks on an ongoing basis. So that's why we start with the trial. Let's look at some of these ones here that did like, okay, 59%. Why is this 59%? And the other ones weren't as good? Because we have these keywords that are wasting the traffic, right? They're sending an equal amount of traffic, I think, for each of these. So, I already turned these ones off. food smoothie near me. See, you can't trust the data here because it says keyword difficulty 60. I don't think so. Could be it's a new location. Could be they don't have as many reviews. I mean, there's all kinds of things that determine whether you rank in the maps or not, right? So obviously, if they're doing well, we can make it even better. But look at this acai shop. You would think, oh, well, this acai shop Allen is 22% and acai shop is 12. Well, no, because there's way more traffic on acai shop for obvious reasons, and more traffic on acai shop than acai bowls and smoothies. So here we're already ranking well. Oh, here's the reason why we're not improving here is that we already were kicking ass here, so there's not much room to improve. So it wasn't like it wasn't like the campaign did poorly. It's that our choice of keywords was poor, right? It's user error. It's a lot of people blame the AI when really we don't know what we're doing. So we got to report back to the client, hey, our map results are take screenshots of these top terms, show how, we're moving better, we're moving up here. Look at this. Well, 80%, mostly number 2, still good, number 3, but now mainly number 1. And they can verify this. We can verify this in our local Falcon, right? There's many ways to do it. A lot of people are like, well, how do I don't want to trust the jumper media data. And well, you can use there's 10 tools that do this. And they all pretty much give the same data. And they all admit that they give the same data, right? So we can just come in and look at any one of these ones, plumber, action air plumber, emergency plumber. And so when we see these ones increase, the local share of voice is increasing over time, then, we know that this incentivized traffic is starting to work. But this has to be done in addition to getting reviews and additional location service pages, in addition, like all the other stuff. You can't just use this thing all by itself because Google is looking at combinations of signals, not just one signal. So people looking for maps and directions coming through their behavioral traffic, which is what's occurring here, that's good. But we need to do all the other stuff too. So hope you found this helpful, and let me know if any of this stuff doesn't make sense.